Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday night again, my favorite night of the week. I'm here with my main squeeze, Bodine Sanders, and our featured contributor, Adrian Farris. It's another week of the Bo and Joe show. So welcome, gentlemen. I'm still talking to you, Adrian, and even though you're in Maui and we're up here in the fall in the Northeast, but I'm still happy to see you. How's it going?
Yeah,
Glad
he's
to be
rubbing
here.
it in. He's rubbing it in. Look at that. He's rubbing it in. That's okay. That's okay. We'll get over it. That's
I'm,
quite
I'm
all
just
right.
gonna tell the viewers that we had to force Adrian to take off the grass skirt and the lei because we just couldn't handle the temptation and the pressure, the Mai Tai, the whole. So we might see his wife dancing in the background a little in a few minutes. That'll be something we can look forward to. So we'll take his mind off the sunshine and we're going to throw it right to baseball. We're going to hop in. What do you think, Adrian? It's been an exciting week. What about those Red Sox Yankees? That was quite the game.
Well, it was a great weekend leading into Sunday. There you go, Bo. Great weekend leading into Sunday. National League Division Series, Dodgers and the Giants going into Sunday with the Dodgers only one game down. And the Giants were able to hold on, keep that division championship. So, the Dodgers are playing right now against the St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card race for, the National League playoffs to get in and play the Giants come Thursday afternoon. It's a 1-1 game. And then obviously in the American League, everything was about the wild card race going into Sunday. Both the Yankees and the Red Sox were tied for the first wild card, and both the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays were only one game out, and there was actually a possibility of there being a 4-team tie after Sunday, and to try to figure out who was going to play in that wild card game yesterday. But both the Red Sox and the Yankees won on Sunday. The Yankees with a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth. And because of that, they both got to play yesterday. And, I'm sorry to say the Red Sox, handed it to the Yankees yesterday with a 6-2 win. Garrett Cole, the Yankees ace who they brought in for games just like yesterday, had another bad outing. He's probably had 3 or 4 bad outings at the end of the season, where he had a hamstring. I don't know whether it was a strain, and I don't know whether it was worse than they were actually saying, but he actually was removed from a game late in the season because of a hamstring. And when he came back, he just wasn't the same. So the Red Sox handed it to the Yankees yesterday with a 6-2 win. And so as a prize, they get to play the Tampa Bay Rays in the division series beginning tomorrow night.
Oh, no. Don't be nice to that dude. He get paid too much money and he's the ace. And no excuses, no hamstrings, no I'm hurt or no. If you go out on the mound, you got to do at least pitch one inning great, right? You got a nice bullpen, right? At least give one great inning, but don't be nice to that guy. He got crushed. They were hitting homers. They were hitting homers off of him like it was popcorn. Oh no!
Well,
he got crushed.
Yeah,
he disappointed me.
I agree with you there, Bo. But let's be honest. I mean, if there is a leg injury, not just in baseball, your legs are the most important thing as a pitcher. So if you have some type of leg injury, and Garrett Cole's that guy, he's not going to make excuses, even if he's not 100%. He wants that baseball. He wants to take the mound. He knows he's brought in and paid for that specific situation. So it's not an excuse, but it's obvious that he was not the same pitcher after he was moved from that ball game.
So I promised Justin I would bring this up, and he's saying the Red Sox have eliminated the Yankees and have won 8 of their last 9 postseason games against them, dating back to Game 4 of the 2004 ALCS. And Brandon is here. What is going on, Queen Joanna and Royal Knights? Hi, Brandon. Brandon's a big baseball guru as well. So hi, Brandon. It's always great to see you. So yeah, so what are we looking forward to in the playoffs? So what are we thinking, and who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, we have in the American League starting tomorrow. We have the Astros going to Chicago to take on the White Sox, and the Red Sox are obviously going to Tampa Bay take on the Rays. For my money, in the American League, Tampa Bay has been the best team in the American League from start to finish. Quite honestly. The Yankees were, for some reason, by all the prognosticators at the beginning of the season, they were the favorite. Really, there was no reason for them to be the favorite because the Rays have handled them pretty well over the last couple seasons. And, they did it again this year. And to me, I expect to see the Rays back in the World Series this year. In the NL, you have the Brewers. The Braves going to play the Brewers. That starts on Thursday, and the Braves with some injuries, and I think the Brewers will come out on top there. We're still waiting to see who goes and plays the Giants beginning Thursday. That's going to be either the Dodgers or the Cardinals. Once again, they're tied 1-1 right now in the 5th inning, so I expect this to be tough, but I expect the Dodgers to come out of this tonight once they get Wainwright off the mound. Their big backs will probably show up late as they normally do. Then at that point, I think it's pot luck with San Francisco winning 107 games this year, the Dodgers winning 106. I don't know that anybody, based on how consistent the Giants have been, even though the Dodgers won 106 games, they were a little more up and down throughout the season. The Giants were a lot more steady, but I would think most would expect the Dodgers to come out on top. And I expect to see a repeat of last year's World Series, the Rays and the Dodgers.
All right, I'm writing that down. I'm going to hold you to it.
So we're not heading into the NFL yet, but Brandon has some breaking news for us. He's saying the NFLPA executive DeMaurice Smith's job is in jeopardy after a vote.
Really?
Yeah, that's.
Wonder where that's coming from.
I don't know. We got the scoop on that. Brandon would give us a little bit more background. I mean, we're not into the NFL yet, but Justin is saying Justin predicts that the Giants are going to win it all. San Fran will win it all. So that's something we'll take note of that, Justin. It could happen. Could happen. All right, so that's exciting stuff. So while we're waiting for Brandon to follow up on the news, he's saying it came from ESPN. ESPN reported it, and
maybe what's happening is it's the NFLPA representative gets voted in and out, and maybe his contract, maybe he's on say it's a 5-year contract, maybe he's on the 4th year, and it's time to test the waters to see if the players are still happy with what he's done regarding, their contracts and the contracts that they have with the NFL and the rules and all those things. So it's a boatload of things that the NFLPA representative, handles and negotiates with the league and the owners. So DeMaurice Smith, it's tough. The NBA has a great representative. She has a great reputation, and she's going to be there a while because she is smart, she's tough, and they have a great relationship with her. And I guess she's doing what she said she could do for him. So maybe they're going to push maybe they're going to vote him out and not renew his contract and bring in someone else that they feel could do a better job. Because, it's tough negotiating with the owners of the NFL. There's no other contract, no other agreement on the planet as solid as the owners have with each other and with the government that oversees contracts. That's why no one competes with the NFL, right? You either start a league before they start during the summer, you start a league after they start. But if you try to compete with the NFL, you have no shot because they dominate everything. So.
Yeah. So, all right. So speaking of ESPN, let's get into this story. So what do you think about Sage Steele? Did you hear that story? Is that one of your human interest stories?
No, I did not. What's going on with Sage Steele?
So she's off the air. She's been taken off the air by ESPN. She went on Jay Cutler's podcast last week, and she says some pretty damaging things. She spoke out about former President Obama. She spoke out about COVID mandates, and she also spoke out about young female journalists. And I want to read some of these quotes to you. I think that her being removed from the air is warranted. I think that it was a pretty damning. She said she was required to get the vaccine by Disney, who owns the ESPN. Mm-hmm. And she only did so because of her job. She said, I have a job that I love, and frankly, a job that I need. Then she went on to call the vaccine mandates sick and scary, mm-hmm. But that was fine. But then she questioned why President Obama identifies as Black when, even though he was raised by a white mother, she said she found it fascinating that Obama identified himself as Black, considering his Black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. And her mother is, her mother is white and her father's Black. So I'm sure she can empathize with that. But I think that this was the most damning statement. She said that young female journalists bear some responsibility for preventing any harassment they may face in the male-dominated sports arena. And her quote was, when you dress like that, I'm not just saying you deserve the gross comments, but you know what you're doing when you're putting that outfit on. So I think that was, that was a big blow. So I don't know what you think of any of those comments. I think, they're all pretty controversial.
Well, I have to be careful just a little bit, because you know who my biggest supporter is, who endorsed my book, Rosa Gotti, who's a former senior executive VP, retired from ESPN. She's a wonderful person. She's a Villanova alumni. She's a trailblazer. She was the first female sports information director in the college ranks when she was offered that opportunity because she earned it, while she was attending Villanova. So she has a lot of friends still at ESPN, but here's what I'll say. I am not surprised at all about what she said. And I think it was planned because Sage has always hinted as someone who is okay with not towing the company line, right? She's she sprinkled it, and I've noticed it over the years, right? So I wouldn't put it past Sage to say, listen, she can make more money leaving ESPN, creating her own podcast, or going to another network, and will be able to speak her mind freely, because a lot of folks know that ESPN and their mission and their goals and their initiatives. It's a family organization. Right? So they are very careful about the things that they do and the things that they say. So I wouldn't put it past her to have planned this so she can get out and go to, because she can make more money doing her own thing or going to another network. No question about it, especially being that provocative. Because listen, if she was that provocative on someone else's podcast, she knows if she would have done it on the network, it would have looked a lot worse, because then you have no respect for the network. Does that make sense? Right?
It does.
So doing it.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, I think that is going to be very difficult for her to be brought onto a mainstream network with those comments about women.
Oh, no. No. Fox will hire her in a minute, and then she'll start her own podcast, and because she has a ton of viewers, a ton of followers, she'll be fine. Just my opinion, I think it was planned, right? And listen, sometimes, like, I speak my mind, but I'm in the middle, right? I stay in my lane. That's why I speak my mind, because I'm confident staying in my lane. So, hey, we'll see what happens, but I think it was planned. What do you think, Abe?
I'm glad you said that, because it sounds. I don't think you come out. I mean, there are three things that she said there. She's talking about coronavirus, the COVID vaccine. She's talking about President Obama, and then she's talking about women and what could be their role in something that's that they're all big news. So. And they're all things that people think, but they don't necessarily say.
Say it out loud.
That's right. So people may think that, but because of that towing the company line, because of being politically correct, because of those things, a lot of people just don't say it. And so I agree. I mean, she fully had to know what was going to happen after she made those comments. So I'd agree that she did it to usher her out and onto other things.
And listen, she knows, I know, maybe most people know as well, that she is not totally embraced in the African American community based on things that she has said in the past, right? So she could care less about making that comment about President Obama, because she knows that's going to stir the pot, right? And I mean, why make that statement and go after President Obama? She's punching up, in other words.
Yeah.
She's punching up, right? There's no need to punch up if you're confident in your opinion and what you're trying and your point you're trying to make. She's punching up, right? And that's what she was doing.
So I want to follow up. Brandon just sent me the story behind the scenes. They're saying the NFL Players Association, to the executive committee, DeMaurice Smith has held the job for the last 12 years, but in order to retain the position, it has to be a unanimous vote. It needs to be 14-0 for the executives to the 14-member committee, but instead it was a 7-7 split. And now the status of his is up to the 32 team player representatives who have a conference call scheduled for 6 p.m. on Friday.
They're following the bylaws, because many years ago, Adrian, help me out. Was it Gene Upshaw, who was the player representative, right?
Yes.
And he had that job forever. So they changed their bylaws and said, listen, we can't have guys being in charge of this thing for so long. Let's shorten the time frame and tweak the bylaws. So they changed their bylaws. So that's what's happening. The end of his contract, boom. Now they're gauging whether guys feel good about him or not. look like he's got problems. And now it's up to the player representation, right? One player from each team will pass along the individual votes, the votes from the team, and they'll pass those up to the, 14 executive committee?
14. Yep.
And boom. And then that's what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Woo.
Yeah, they say it's
right.
led by Richard Sherman, and they're not happy with how the last collective bargaining agreement was negotiated.
There you go. There you go. Come on. And listen, there are some smart, very smart, high IQ guys that play football. That old cliche of dumb jock, that doesn't fly anymore, right? Richard Sherman graduated from Stanford. You got guys from Stanford. You've got guys from Harvard. You've got guys from all walks of life playing in the 32 teams. So there are some smart dudes out there, and they know how to read contracts. They know how to be represented. So yeah, you just can't pull wool over their eyes anymore in terms of the players and the representative. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. We need to keep an eye on this.
We do. So Justin's chomping at the bit to get into the Urban Meyer story. I don't know if we want to hold off because I have a few other stories. But,
Thank you, Justin. That's why I got my hat on.
Yeah, so I think we all have thoughts on that. So we might as well let's jump into it. We can go back to before we really get into the NFL because I have a few other stories. But all right, what are your thoughts?
Listen. You can't say one thing and do another, right? Right? It's not right. What's the old cliche? Do as I say, do.
Do as I say. Do as I say, not as I do.
Not as I do, right? You can't do that anymore. We are in the 21st century. Yes, we have a lot of challenges, but we're also ahead of the game compared to the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We are way ahead. We've seen those movies before. So you cannot, as a head coach, fly into a city, get your butt kicked, and decide that you as the head coach are going to stay back and not fly back home with your team. You cannot do that. That is just ridiculous. I don't care if you're like, because he's got family back in Ohio, right? He's got a restaurant back in Ohio. I don't give a ham sandwich if you, seriously, just had a new grandchild. As much as you have a new grandchild, and that is great news, healthy baby, all that stuff, as a head coach, after you lose, now, if you won, that's a different story. But when you lose and you haven't won one game all season and you're a new coach and you get a job, a head coaching job, when you've never been an NFL head coach before, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? You're setting yourself up for experienced NFL players to say, hold on, you're asking us to do stuff to change our culture, to change our attitudes based on us losing for the past couple of years. And then we're trying to do that with a new rookie quarterback. But then you turn around and then you stay back and then you get in trouble, right? And you're married? Come on.
And I don't know if he said, and that's not his first time. I mean, that's just not coincidence. I mean, that's a pattern of behavior, in my opinion. I mean, obviously we can't prove it, but he looked pretty comfortable. He didn't look he didn't look impaired. He didn't, like, he was overly impaired, or he didn't look like he was roofied to me. He looked pretty comfortable in that position, getting the lap dance, and then, then his hands.
Hold up, Joe. I didn't even see the video.
Yeah.
I didn't even see the video and I knew it was bad. So you're telling me it's worse than what I imagine it is?
Well, it's not bad. I mean, he's sitting at the bar, but then the young woman is dancing, she's in the cradle of his lap standing. I mean, it's not, and her back is to him. But then he was fondling her ass. I'm gonna say it. So it's it wasn't a slip of the hand, in my opinion, for sure.
Listen, what is it? The eyes in the sky doesn't lie. The video doesn't lie, right? We've moved on from Polaroids. It's now on video, right?
Right.
You can't outlive that. So the owner did not give him a confident statement about his future, and the players are verbally saying he got to go. So chances are he's going to be gone soon. Unless he say that again. I'm sorry.
I heard the opposite. I heard, unless it's behind the scenes, I mean, the owner went out and said, I have confidence in him. He is my head coach. I believe that his apology is genuine. I read a few player statements saying that, they're going to stand behind him. So I don't know if that's for the press or the media, and their opinions are different behind the locker room door. But not sure. I'm not sure what I think about that, because now there's two separate schools of thought. I mean, you know more about football and the media and perceptions than I do. But so what do you guys think?
Put it this way.
Well,
go ahead, Eddie. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I saw something where the owner made a statement that, what he did was inexcusable. But that's as far as I saw. So I don't know that he's going to be gone, though. I mean, they have paid him a lot of money. They have given him power, so to speak, in his ability to make decisions on the field, as well as player decisions, things like that. So, if they do that, then they're just right back to the drawing board again.
Well, listen, he's got a clause in his contract just like everybody else does, right? And I'm pretty sure this embarrassing situation covers that clause, right? So the statement I saw, the owner issued a statement and said Coach Meyer, has to regain confidence I'm going to leave out respect. He needs to regain confidence amongst the team. And if the veterans say they don't want him versus the rookies and the young guys who are going to toe the line because they're young, they're rookies, and they have much more to lose, right? The veterans run the team. And if the veterans say, we want him gone, he's going to be gone. We'll see what happens. But the problem is based on what you're telling me, Joe, there's a divided locker room. You're saying some guys are saying, yes, keep him. And then I've heard the other guys make statements and say, no, he can't say one thing and expect us to do something and then he not do it. So that's controversy. That's a distraction. How you going to win next week? How you going to win the week after that? Right? Let's look at this.
So these things, and these things kind of add up too, right? So you've got him hiring an assistant that was fired from a Division I college program for racial issues. You've got him bringing on Tim Tebow, who most people think really didn't deserve the shot. Now you've got him doing this. So you've got things that are starting to add up, which are all character type things. So, you never know.
Well, I don't hold Tim Tebow against him because, Tim Tebow is from my hometown. I thought Tim Tebow would actually make the team, but he didn't. But I had full confidence that Tim Tebow is not a huge distraction. But again, he didn't make the team, so they moved on. No big deal. I think it was the bad move because they still don't have a good tight end. Right? They still don't have a good tight end. So I think they should have kept him. But that's beside the point. But guess who they got this coming Sunday? They got Tennessee. And Tennessee lost to the Jets. Do you think Tennessee is going to lose to the Jets and then turn around and lose to the Jaguars? No. Derrick Henry is going to run that ball down their throat. He's going to end up with over 200 yards. They're going to lose again. And then the following week, they're going to lose. And then it's just going to be a snowball effect. And when you're losing, you lose control of the locker room. So if you got a locker room that's already divided, it's going to get more divided. It's going to get heated because guys don't like to lose. So let's see. Let's revisit this in 2 weeks and see what happens.
All right. All right. So what do you have? I have another human interest story, but throw one out. You throw one out. What do you have?
Well, another person who endorsed my book, Mark Zumoff, retired a few weeks ago. And the person that they tapped to take over his play-by-play role for the Philadelphia 76ers is Kate Scott. And so she is going to do a great job. She's well experienced. And so, again, women who have earned the right to move into leadership positions are making their names, staking their place in all the leagues. And I think it's a good thing. So it's happening everywhere, from baseball, right? Adrian, they had Jessica Mendoza and another young lady called a baseball game. There were no men involved. So that was a first, and that was on ESPN. And then you had in golf, the LPGA ShopRite tournament, the entire TV cast were women, no men. So it's happening. We're making progress in that regard.
Fabulous. So I want to talk about COVID a little bit. So did you hear the story coming out of the NHL? We have the San Jose Sharks. They're one of their, I get the position. I think he's a forward. He's under investigation for producing a fraudulent COVID vaccine card.
Oh no.
And he's been plagued by a lot of controversies this past year. He's also being investigated for his wife. He's in the middle of a divorce. His wife claimed that he was abusive, and he's being investigated for domestic violence. And he just was cleared in an investigation saying that he had been betting against the NHL and his own team. So yes, he's in a world of controversy there. But I can't imagine that these players, first of all, the pressure to get vaccinated is one thing, but then coming up with a fraudulent vaccine card. I mean, you're really, you're putting your team at risk. You're putting the public at risk, because obviously then you're not taking any precautions. You're walking around as if you're a vaccinated individual when in fact you're not. Yeah, I think that's a pretty crazy story coming out of San Jose for sure.
What's the guy's name? I think I heard about the story.
It's Evander Kane. He's a big name, top hockey player.
I heard the story. You named 3 stories or 3 incidents. I heard about one of them. I didn't hear about the vaccine. And what were the other 2 stories?
Betting on NHL games.
That's the one I heard. I didn't hear about the domestic abuse. The betting is the one I heard about earlier about him. Again, 3 strikes. It means something. They do things just like that don't happen to you out of the blue, right? So sounds like he's a bad character guy, maybe a great player. But listen, the vaccine issue, we talked about this, right? We've talked about this a couple of times, haven't we, Joe? Right?
We have.
And if you look at basketball, you got the Andrew Wiggins and Kyrie Irving. Andrew Wiggins got his. We're waiting on Kyrie Irving to make a decision. But again, I don't understand why these guys are taking the positions that they're taking. They've played sports since they were crumb snatchers, right? They've played sports since they were kids. They got vaccinated. They got physicals their whole entire life. Why is this different? This is no different than any other physical that you have to get every year. And imagine, I'm waiting on someone to say when the NBA travels, right, overseas, I'm waiting for somebody to say, hey, listen, we get shots for those. No one has said it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me, right? Every country have their rules regarding vaccinations, right? So it wouldn't surprise me for those guys who travel, and basketball travels more than football. I'm assuming hockey travels because hockey is a world sport, right? Soccer's a world sport. Basketball is a world sport. Football is a little not, right? So, but I just don't get it. These guys, right? Adrian, you had to get a physical every time you tried out for baseball, right?
You can't play if you don't get one.
It's just that simple. Why are these guys making it difficult? I don't get it.
Well, did you read the stories about Kyrie Irving? Obviously, he can't play in New York, so he can't play any home games. He can't even practice. And then they asked his coach, and I forgot his coach's name now. What is the coach of the Brooklyn Nets? I forgot. But and they said, would you consider, moving practices out of New York so that he could and then luckily they rebuked that and they said no, but I do believe they were considering it. I mean, we're making accommodations, and I'm all for personal choice if that's really what you want to do. I mean, I do believe that organizations have rules. We've talked about it. I think that you're not a volunteer. If you don't want to follow the mandates of your job, then you find another one. But I think to even consider moving practices out of New York State was just over the top.
Listen,
they're
already accommodating him by saying they're going to let him play road games. Steve Nash, right? They're going to let him play road games. First of all, why would you let him ruin the chemistry of playing road games but not playing home games? That's going to ruin the chemistry, right? And second of all, why would you want to lose half your salary if you're making $30-something million and you only play half the season? That means you're losing half of your income. Why would you want to do that? This vaccine is not worth making that decision, right? There have been billions of people who've gotten this shot, right? Billions. What research do you need to do? What makes you think your particular body is so much more special than a billion other people? What makes you think your body is so much different than a billion other human beings? That's crazy.
Well, here's why it happens in the NBA, though. I think we know the NBA is different, and it's changing by the year. And the NBA is run by the players.
Absolutely.
And this is where the problem is. Because the NBA has let the players pretty much, rule the roost, they think that they can make these decisions and get these things changed because they say so. Whereas it's not going to happen in the NFL. It's not going to happen in Major League Baseball because they're going to put their foot down and say, no, it's either this or you don't play. And I think the NBA players, they just have a certain they just have this certain feeling that if they stand pat long enough, that they'll make the change because this is what I want. And that's the bad part about having players run the league.
Well, listen, I partly agree with that because I think some of the things that the NBA guys do regarding social issues are on point, right?
No, absolutely.
They have a brand and a platform, but it's not the NBA's rules. It's the state of New York's rules, right? Mm-hmm. And you can't fight City Hall, period.
Justin reminded me of a story. I mean, Kyrie is an interesting character, and don't forget, he did say he believes that the Earth is flat. That's another one of his claims. So,
He
yeah,
did.
yeah.
He did. Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's just because he likes to be obviously the center of the spotlight, or if that's something he actually believes. But
No, he's an intelligent guy. He's very smart. He's very thoughtful. He has empathy for a lot of things, but this particular issue makes no sense, because if you feel this way, why didn't you not feel this way prior in your prior career? I never heard about him making throwing up his hands and causing a fit or drama regarding playing basketball at, what was it, Duke for 1 year, right? He played at Duke, right? I never heard about him when he was a highly touted guy in high school saying he wasn't going to get vaccinated or take a physical. But let's break it down even smaller than that. Let's keep it simple. Everybody on this planet eat things and put things in their body that they personally don't have the time or education to research, period. So why is this vaccine any different?
I'm gonna correct you. Everybody on the planet except for Tom Brady.
Yeah, because he could hire somebody to do that, right? But you're absolutely right. People are making this much worse than it really is. They're making it difficult. It's not a difficult decision, not for healthy people. I can see if you have a what is it called? A history of problems.
An underlying condition.
Underlying condition, right? I do understand that. Then you need to have those conversations with your family, friends, doctors, whatever. But if you're a healthy dude and you're playing basketball or you're playing a sport and you've done this a long time, this should not be an issue. Not at all. Nope.
All right. Well, okay. So speaking of Tom Brady, we're getting down to our last 17 minutes. Let's talk about that game. It was very emotional for me. I got choked up a couple of times when he came on, when he was hugging Robert Kraft in the beginning.
Really?
When he spoke about his family, his parents were there. It's and they said that it's potentially the last game he could ever play at Foxborough. I think that it was all his children were there and his wife, and I just thought it was very touching. And then that he broke the passing record. He broke the passing record there in the house that he'd been in for 20 years. So I found it, but I mean, that all was touching, but the game kind of surprised me. I thought it was going to be a much bigger point spread. And then I started feeling a little bit, I was a little bit hopeful for Mac Jones, and I felt a little sad about that loss. So what did you guys think?
Go ahead, A.
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty interesting. Pre-game, he's out on the field, everybody's cheering him, he's waving, etc. But if you notice, once they took the field, those cheers changed to boos. You know what I mean?
They did.
Yeah, they absolutely changed to boos, and I think we got to see just how good Bill Belichick is as a defensive coach this week, because Tampa Bay struggled from snap number one. I mean, and bottom line is they won on a game-winning field goal at the end of the game. So, Belichick schemed Tampa Bay to the point where, they couldn't do anything. And I think they know Tampa Bay is very, very much pass-oriented. They throw 80% of the time. So he schemed them, and he kept the Patriots in the game. And I think we just got to see how good Bill Belichick really is, and why they're both spoken about in the same breath as the GOATs. Belichick, the best coach of all time, and Brady, the best quarterback of all time.
Well, listen, I am a defensive guy. I agree with your assessment of Bill Belichick, no doubt about it. But we have to include the overall experience, those players for Tampa Bay appreciate Tom Brady so much that they were too jacked up. They had too much energy. You could tell they wanted to win. They were pressing too much. And then weather, right? The weather has people don't really think about the weather, especially now. Here's a learning opportunity for you, Joe. You got to look at the weather in these games when you're starting to predict stuff, right? When you're playing your fantasy, right? Weather plays a very important part in these games, especially based on the talent level of the quarterback or what the team runs. If it's a running team, shouldn't be a problem in the rain. But if it's a team that likes to throw the ball, which means their offensive linemen are used to protecting the quarterback versus driving the ball downfield and driving the person across from them downfield, all those things come into play. So when you add all of that into the soup, I knew it was going to be a low scoring game, right? I knew it was going to be a low scoring game in terms of the weather, right? The weather was right. The weather kept New England in the game, because if they didn't have rain, there's no defensive backs on New England Patriots that can keep up with their wide receivers, period. Right? So, but that's what makes the game interesting. And in the end, Tom still won because he's Tom terrific. He's the GOAT. And people say, well, what if the kicker would have made the field goal? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's what sports is all about, right? It's a game of inches. So Tom gets the win.
He did. But I think he missed Gronk too. I think if Gronk had been there, it would be an entirely different game.
It would have been it would have helped. Absolutely, it would have helped. So he was missing his security blanket. Everybody knows he's got a security blanket, and it's the Gronk. And nobody can cover and dominate the Gronk. He's gone to the Hall of Fame as a tight end. No question about it. So it was a great game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both defenses going back and forth and competing, because I actually like that better. I like to see guys get their heads taken off, but I can appreciate an offensive minded game. Yeah.
I was impressed with Mac Jones though too. I mean, I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think he's proven himself to be a good quarterback, in my opinion, for sure.
Hey, he's from my hometown. Why not? It's from my hometown. So no, he played well. He played well.
And I don't know if you saw I was watching very closely the congratulatory moment when Tom walked, when they at the end, and they had the couple of words. I didn't think it was as warm and fuzzy as Mac Jones had hoped for, but because he spoke to it afterwards. I was trying to see what Tom was saying to him, and then I read it afterwards. So I think there's a little disappointment there on Mac Jones' part, but I think that it was nice that they exchanged words at all.
Yeah, he'll get over it. It's okay. He'll get over it. But listen, Bill Belichick, that's the Bill Belichick rubbing off on Tom Brady, right? Because you saw their embrace and the way he handled it, right? So, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
You say that, but I mean, Tom was very warm and affectionate with his old teammates, with Robert Kraft. I mean, he was giving a lot of hugs before and after the game. So
listen, these guys take it personally, right? They take it personally. This young kid is the reason Cam Newton is unemployed, and now we see why, because the kid can play. So. Tom's taking it personal. He's like, listen, the kid is good, but I should have been here. I should have been in it. I should have still been in New England. So, but like I said, he'll get over it. Both of them will get over it. They'll get over it. Because guess what? Yeah. You don't have time to wallow, what we used to say, wallow in the mud, because you got another game coming in 6 or 7 days from that day. So you don't have time to worry about the past. You got to look forward and look for the next team. Right. So, yeah, they'll get over it.
All right. So what about any of the other games? What'd you think? I mean, we're getting down to the top of the hour. We still haven't recapped any of the other games or spoken about week 5.
Well, listen, real quickly, because I want to talk about Bubba Wallace. But real quickly, The Cowboys look great, and my Eagles are having some issues. Right, they let Kansas City come in here and throw 5 touchdowns on them, and Andy Reid got his 100th win, so that guarantees him into the Hall of Fame because he's the only coach to win 100 games with 2 different teams. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Done deal. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He's going, right? So the Eagles got some work to do. The Cowboys are looking good. Remember we talked about Stephon Diggs, the cornerback. He's caught more interceptions than his brothers caught passes. Yo, that kid is good. He got a pick 6, and so he's leading the league with INTs. He's pretty good. So yeah. So, and the Pittsburgh Steelers got problems. Who's your team, A? The Giants, Cowboys. The Jets. You're from New Jersey.
Cowboys are my team. Yeah, but I've been a Cowboys fan since I was this high. So,
all right. So you're happy with the Cowboys and what they're showing, huh?
Oh, the Cowboys they're a Super Bowl contender. No doubt about it. They're balanced. Their problem has been their defense. Last year they had the worst defense in the league pretty much. And I think everybody thought and understood that if they could just go from worst in the league to middle of the pack in the league defensively, they're going to have to be reckoned with, and they're there now.
Well, I like Arizona. They look good. They're playing good football. They're the only undefeated team in the league, and that quarterback of theirs, who was the number 1 ranked high school football player coming out of high school, he is no joke. He played, you know who he is. He played baseball. He could have played baseball. He could have signed. He could probably still sign and do what Deion and Bo Jackson did. He could sign a baseball contract right now if he wanted to, right? So he's really good. He can play football. He's different. He runs different. His body makeup is different. He's probably the same size as Russell Wilson, but he's a better athlete than Russell Wilson in terms of, quickness and speed, but they're pretty much similar in that same space. That I'm telling you, this kid is no joke. Have you seen him play yet, Joe?
I have. I saw him last week.
So they've got the best record in the league. And who do they have coming up this week? Arizona has San Francisco. Another good game. No, there's a lot of good games. A lot of good games coming up. Go ahead, Joe.
I like San Francisco. I mean, they actually, when I was younger, that was the team that I liked. I spread myself thin now, and I like a lot of different teams, but that was traditionally my favorite team. So I like them again.
Buffalo's doing well, right? So tomorrow night, it's the Rams versus
Seahawks.
Seattle. Oh yeah. So we've got good football on Thursday nights, Sunday nights, and Monday nights. The Raiders and who was it? The Raiders and that just played the other night.
Chargers.
The Chargers are playing well, right? So there's a lot of good teams out there. Lots of good football. I mean, there's probably about half the league have either a winning record or a 500 record. And so that's pretty good. So there's some good football being played.
Agreed. So what do you think about, there's a lot of controversy about Ben Roethlisberger. They're saying that he should be moving on. Are you talking about who his replacement's going to be? He's really struggling this year.
Adrian, what do you think about that elbow? Doesn't he have that baseball kind of thing? Once your elbow goes, it's pretty much over, right? Because that's the injury he had last year.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, he should have retired with Eli Manning. Roethlisberger, in my mind, has been done for a couple years, and he just has not wanted to let go. He's in the same class. Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, all drafted same year. So Eli retired a couple years ago, Rivers last year, and Roethlisberger should have done the same thing. And so he's kind of tarnishing his what do you call it? His legacy by continuing to play when he should have sat down.
Yeah, if you'd have
said, and he's got no offensive line, so that doesn't help.
Right. If you'd have said reputation, I'd have said, no, that's been tarnished a long time ago. But his legacy, yes, yes. It's time for him to go. You can see it's time for him to go. But Pittsburgh. That's why if you truly understand sports, that's why you appreciate and respect Pittsburgh, right? They're not moved by the crowd. They're not moved by rhetoric and all that. They stay in their lane. They're a respectable organization. They treat their folks well, and they give you the extra mile. They go the extra mile to give you the time you need. They don't make rash decisions or knee-jerk decisions. So they'll hang in there, and they'll be okay. Literally, they'll be okay with a losing season this year because Ben brought them 2 Super Bowls, right? Didn't he bring them 2 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
So don't even think about firing the coach because that ain't going to happen either. They stick by their loyal owners. So they're that. But Ben has to make a decision. Now we see why it was easy for Eli to make the decision to retire because he knew he was going to be making money with his brother. You don't think they had planned what they're doing where they're calling the what is it, Sunday night or Monday night game?
Monday night games, yeah.
Monday night game, and they're funny and people are enjoying it. So that's why Peyton didn't sign contracts to do announcing with. Remember, people were throwing boatloads of money at him. He's like, nope, because they had this plan. He and his brother was going to create this media show that they're doing, and it's awesome. I love it. Have you watched it?
I watched it.
I've seen it.
They're funny. Yeah, they're funny.
They're funny. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. And the other big announcement was they finally confirmed that Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback. They committed to that this week. So I think that was good news. Yeah. So we'll see. I think he deserves a chance. He had a rough game a couple of weeks ago, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, his coach has some issues. Other players who've played in the NFL were crushing the head coach. Obviously, he's made some bad decisions. And if anything, he doesn't know how to have a news conference. So he may need some media training because he's put his foot in his mouth quite a few times where guys are just killing him. They're chewing him up and spitting him out. So that doesn't help. That really doesn't help. So, yeah.
That might have to be your next side gig, Bodine. You'll have to do media training for the head coaches in the NFL. Put that on your resume.
No. There's some better PR people out there better than me. No doubt about that.
All right. So now what? I think we covered a lot. Any closing thoughts, or we want to talk about week 5 a little bit before we close? We always have a couple extra minutes.
Well, we've got to give congratulations to the Ryder Cup. The United States team beat the European team, crushed them 19-9 in the Ryder Cup. So we now own the cup, the trophy, until the next time we play. That kind of flew under the radar last week because that's what happens when you talk football. You miss all the other stuff. But kudos to the Ryder Cup team. I don't know if I wished Jay Wright, congratulations for getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame. But if I did, I'll do it again because he deserves it. But if you want to quickly go over who the entire Sunday schedule, we started off with tomorrow night, Rams versus Seattle.
Well, hold on. You forgot about Bubba. You were going to talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, weren't you going to talk about Bubba Wallace?
We'll do that next week. That's too long of a conversation because he did a great thing, and he's that's worth more than a few minutes, right? So
all right, let's start off with that next week.
Rams Seattle tomorrow night. New York Jets versus where my glasses at? Oh, here we go. I know. Leave me alone.
Falcons.
New York Falcons, Denver versus Pittsburgh. Hold on. New Jets and Falcons are in London.
Really?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So you think they flew over to London and didn't have to have their shots? No. London probably said you can't come unless you got your shots, right? And did we hear anything about any players being left behind? No, because they got their shots because they were flying to another country. So people need to stop that.
Okay. What about the jet lag? Isn't that going to have an impact on the play time, on the playing abilities?
No, they probably flew over after they played their last game a day or two after the Sunday game, and they just immediately flew over, took a couple of days off, and then got to work and practice. So then we got Denver, Pittsburgh at 1, Detroit, Minnesota at 1, Green Bay, Cincinnati. That should be a good one. Miami, Tampa Bay. Miami got problems. New England, Houston at 1. New Orleans and Washington at 1. And then the Eagles and Carolina. The Eagles in Carolina. If we lose that game in Carolina, it's over. There's no way we're going to catch Dallas. No way. All right? So then we got Tennessee and Jacksonville. That's the last 1 o'clock game. By the way, that London game starts at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Wow.
Chicago, Vegas, the Raiders, right? 4 o'clock. Cleveland, Chargers, 4 o'clock. Giants, Dallas. Uh-oh. Dallas should win that game, right? Because it's in Dallas.
They should.
And then San Francisco, Arizona. That's a great game. That's a 4:25 game. Buffalo, Kansas City. That's a great game. Oh, yeah. I want to see who wins that. And then Monday night is the Colts, our old quarterback from the Eagles, quarterbacking Indy, the Colts versus Baltimore.
And Justin's asked us this 100 times, so he was asking for your comment. What do you think about Justin Herbert is the real deal? What are your thoughts on that?
He was the real deal at Oregon. Are you kidding me? He was the deal at Oregon. You don't come out of Oregon and not be a good quarterback. Oh, no. Not only is the Oregon campus supported by Nike money, right? Because right, Phil Knight graduated from there, right? No, he was awesome in Oregon. He's a baller. I like him. Absolutely like him. He can play.
All right, perfect. All right, so Adrian, what are your final thoughts from Hawaii? What do you have to throw it to you?
Well, it's gonna be a big week in the NFL. Got a lot of big games starting Thursday night, like you said, with the Rams and the Seahawks. But then you have big games with Packers, Bengals, both 3-1 teams. Browns, Chargers, both 3-1 teams. Niners, Cardinals, and Bills, Chiefs, just like you said. For me last week, we talked about the Rams and how good they were after beating Tampa Bay. And I think I made the statement that we're gonna find out about a few teams this past weekend, and we did. And the team that I found out about were the Cardinals. I didn't think they were that good, and they manhandled the Rams. And Kyler Murray, like you said, Bodine is he's the real deal. And just a little commonality. You talked about Kyler Murray being a baseball guy. I don't know if you know this, but Kyler Murray, drafted baseball guy. Patrick Mahomes, drafted baseball guy.
Russell Wilson, drafted base. They were all drafted middle infielders at a high school and college. So there's a lot of commonality in those top quarterbacks and what they're able to do on the football field that most quarterbacks can't do. With that baseball training behind them as well. Absolutely. Totally agree.
All right. So Bodine, you're up.
Oh, listen, I got a long day tomorrow. It's been a great week. I need to try to find a way to get some sleep because I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning. Everybody have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, and of course we got to thank our man behind the scenes. Thank my two men on the front lines, but then I got my man behind the scenes, Chris P. Bacon. So Chris, thanks again for another great production, and of course we got our guy on the sidelines, Justin. I invited